think one of the very interesting things when it comes to becoming a coaching leader is how you end up giving feedback. And I think that there's a difference between how we give feedback in a command and control kind of mode versus that servant leadership coaching type of mode. And you know, I'll give you two little nuggets here. Number one is what does that accountability conversation actually look like? Because very often the accountability conversation is one like, you screwed up. Okay, how could you have done this kind of thing? Well, sometimes we don't use those words, but as leaders, sometimes we think those words, right? And it shows in our body language and our face and all that kind of stuff. You know, here's a framework that I know works very well. This is what was, hey, so and so, let's talk about this. This is what was expected. This is what happened. I need to understand the underlying reasons why. Okay. Well, because this happened, because such and such happened, this is the outcome, i.e., because you didn't do this is what it's meant. How can we prevent it in the future? Okay. And then sometimes, if non-performance happens again, this will be the result. I think in a certain sense, the question of, task versus person in that accountability conversation, the focus has got to be on the task, not the person. Because as soon as we start talking about the person, but privately to yourself, you got to focus on the person, not the task. Gee, is there some issue going on here? Is there some structural reason why this person is not performing? Is there some other supports that I need to put in place to make sure that person is successful doing their job, etc.? Is this a one-time thing? Is it kind of something that repeats over and over again, or happens at certain times, etc.? How do I deal with the systemic issue that might underlie that non-performance, because that systemic issue is causing other people to non-perform as well? So the idea of saying, okay, conversations focus on the task, okay, and obviously if it's a small thing, you're not going to have this big conversation. If it's a big thing, you're going to obviously have a much larger conversation. But the idea of separating person from task and sort of how you deal with it is actually something interesting.